The rhinoceros enters this system without visual advantage. Its eyesight is limited, unable to resolve detail at distance. Shapes remain indistinct. Movement is perceived late. In an environment where threats close space quickly, this is a severe constraint. Survival compensates elsewhere. Hearing is acute. Low-frequency sounds travel through air, and ground detected before shape or color forms meaning. Scent provides orientation, recent presence direction of movement proximity. The body responds to these signals without delay, translating stimulus into motion. The rhinoceros is built for reaction, not assessment. Its mass limits agility, but it grants momentum. When movement begins, it cannot be easily stopped. Muscle and bone absorb impact. Thick skin reduces consequence from misjudged contact. Speed is brief but decisive. This animal does not stalk or flee with precision. It commits. Behavior reflects this biology. Movement patterns are direct. When startled, the response is immediate acceleration toward or away from disturbance. There is no pause to confirm identity. No adjustment once motion begins. The cost of reversal is higher than the cost of error. This strategy is not dominance. It is necessity. In this ecosystem, predators test limits rather than initiate certainty. They rely on hesitation, confusion missteps. The rhinoceros offers none. Its reactions are abrupt, often excessive, and difficult to predict. That unpredictability becomes its defense. The rhinoceros occupies a narrow survival space. It cannot afford delayed interpretation. It survives by acting before clarity exists, by trusting signals that arrive without explanation. In this world, that is enough. Conditions begin to shift without announcement. Temperature rises earlier in the day. Night moisture evaporates faster, weakening scent trails and reducing the time window in which information travels clearly. Wind becomes inconsistent, changing direction without pattern. Signals that once arrived in sequence now overlap or disappear. Water sources contract. Shallow pools dry first, forcing longer movement between remaining access points. Distance increases exposure. The rhinoceros spends more time crossing open ground where sound reflects unevenly and vibrations are harder to interpret. Each journey carries higher cost. Feeding efficiency declines. Grass becomes tougher, lower in moisture, slower to process. The animal must consume more to maintain balance. Time spent with head lowered increases. Ears compensate, rotating more frequently, but sound quality degrades as heat thickens the air. Information arrives later and less reliably. Fatigue accumulates subtly. It does not slow movement, but it narrows tolerance. Recovery between exertions shortens. Acceleration demands greater effort. Momentum remains available, but it cannot be sustained as long. The body adjusts by reducing unnecessary deviation. Routes become more direct. Stops become shorter. Environmental pressure does not present as threat. It presents as constraint. Other species respond first. Herds fragment earlier in the day. Smaller animals shift schedules, avoiding peak heat and concentrating movement into narrow windows. Their sudden absences alter the acoustic field. Familiar background noise drops out, replaced by long periods of quiet that carry no confirmation. Quiet increases uncertainty. The rhinoceros relies on contrast rather than clarity. Changes matter more than content. When sound patterns flatten, the body compensates by increasing vigilance. Head lifts more often. Direction changes become sharper. The animal does not search for cause. It responds to absence. Longer travel compresses decision time. Approaching water now requires crossing unfamiliar ground. Vegetation density changes. Footing becomes uneven. Each step transmits vibration differently. Some signals echo back distorted. Others vanish entirely. The ground no longer confirms distance reliably. Reaction thresholds lower. Movements that once triggered adjustment now trigger commitment. Acceleration occurs sooner. Turning angles widen. The body begins to favor decisive motion over incremental correction. This shift is costly but necessary. Energy expenditure rises as conditions deteriorate. The rhinoceros compensates by resting in shorter intervals, often standing rather than fully settling. Muscles remain engaged. Weight shifts constantly. Full relaxation would require certainty that no longer exists. Heat amplifies error. Distance compresses visually. Objects appear closer or farther without consistency. Vision contributes less with each passing day. The animal does not attempt to compensate visually. It abandons reliance on sight almost entirely, defaulting to sound and ground transmission. These inputs are faster but less precise. Predators adapt to the same pressures. They adjust routes, timing, and approach vectors. They test boundaries created by fatigue and reduced awareness. Their presence is not continuous, but it is increasingly frequent. Each pass leaves trace disturbed ground, altered scent layers, displaced prey species. The rhinoceros registers these changes indirectly. Patterns no longer match memory. Familiar crossings feel wrong. Entry points smell older than expected. Exit routes carry overlapping signals that cannot be separated. Decision-making compresses further. The animal cannot pause to resolve conflicting input. Delay increases exposure. It responds by narrowing acceptable outcomes. Any signal that exceeds threshold triggers movement without confirmation. This is not panic. It is recalibration. Environmental pressure strips redundancy from survival. There is no buffer left for interpretation. The system favors speed over accuracy. Mistakes become unavoidable, but inaction becomes lethal. Movement continues under this new constraint. Feeding persists. Water is reached. The body holds. But the margin that once absorbed uncertainty is gone. The environment has not become hostile. It has become less forgiving. Under these conditions, survival depends on whether reaction remains faster than consequence. The rhinoceros does not recognize the change as escalation. It experiences it only as necessity. The pressure will continue to build. Movement follows necessity rather than preference. The rhinoceros begins its day before heat thickens the air, when ground moisture still holds scent and sound travels cleanly. Feeding is slow, deliberate, and repetitive. Grass is torn, chewed, processed without haste. The head remains low, but the ears rotate constantly, scanning for irregular patterns rather than specific threats. Stillness is brief. Pauses occur only long enough to confirm the absence of immediate disturbance. Extended rest increases vulnerability. The body settles, rises again, and continues forward. There is no fixed route. Paths shift daily, shaped by water availability, vegetation density, and subtle memory of recent disturbances. Sight offers little guidance. Most information arrives indirectly. Insects lifting suddenly from grass indicate movement ahead. Birds altering call frequency suggest change rather than danger. Wind direction carries scent fragments, old fresh overlapping. None provide certainty, but together they form urgency or absence. The rhinoceros does not evaluate these signals individually. They are processed simultaneously. The body adjusts speed angle posture without conscious sequencing. A slight turn widens distance from unseen source. A pause shortens when sound overlaps with vibration. Each adjustment is minor but cumulative. Normalcy exists in repetition. Feeding, walking, stopping, listening. The pattern appears calm, but contains constant micro-corrections. The animal rarely stands fully relaxed. Weight distribution remains ready. Muscles are never entirely passive. Water access dictates movement range. Reaching it requires crossing open ground where cover is limited and sound reflection is unpredictable. The rhinoceros approaches indirectly, circling before entry. Wind is tested first. Ground firmness is checked through pressure shifts. Entry occurs quickly. Drinking is brief. Departure is immediate. There is no lingering. Other animals respond to its presence long before visual confirmation. Smaller species retreat silently. Larger ones adjust trajectory. The rhinoceros does not pursue or acknowledge them. These reactions are irrelevant unless they alter environmental signals. Sudden dispersal matters more than identity. The daily rhythm is shaped by conservation of energy. Acceleration is costly. Turning at speed is dangerous. The animal avoids unnecessary engagement. But avoidance does not mean caution. It means efficiency. Routine minimizes exposure. Familiar terrain reduces unknown variables. Even without clear vision, spatial memory guides movement. Obstacles are anticipated through remembered resistance rather than sight. Misjudgments occur, but are absorbed by mass and momentum. Normalcy persists until it cannot. There is no clear transition between safety and threat. Disruption arrives without warning, without escalation. The rhinoceros does not anticipate danger as a concept. It reacts to change in pattern. This rhythm sustains survival by limiting decisions. Fewer choices reduce delay. The body remains prepared for interruption, not outcome. When interruption arrives, it will not feel sudden. It will simply replace routine. For now, the system holds. Movement continues. Feeding resumes. The environment offers no confirmation of danger, only constant possibility. Normalcy here is not peace. It is a temporary alignment between habit and survival. Pressure no longer arrives in isolated signals. It becomes continuous. Movement through the terrain draws repeated responses. Disturbance follows at variable distance, never close enough to define, never far enough to dismiss. Each relocation triggers another test. The rhinoceros cannot establish a stable route. Familiar ground loses reliability as approach vectors change. Acceleration becomes frequent. Each burst consumes more energy than the last. Recovery shortens. The body compensates by reducing intake time and eliminating rest. Feeding occurs in fragments, interrupted by repositioning. Water visits are brief and incomplete. Hydration is sufficient to continue, not to recover. The environment amplifies error. Dry soil transmits vibration unevenly. Some footfalls echo strongly, others vanish. This inconsistency removes predictive value. The rhinoceros cannot gauge distance accurately. It responds by widening reaction zones, committing earlier to movement. Predators exploit this shift. They do not pursue directly. They approach from multiple angles, then disengage. Each probe forces response without resolution. The objective is not contact, it is depletion. The rhinoceros registers repetition as urgency. Thresholds collapse further. Signals that once triggered redirection now trigger full acceleration. The animal commits to movement more often, even when input is weak. Each commitment narrows remaining energy reserves. At one crossing, the ground gives way unexpectedly. A shallow depression collapses under weight. The rhinoceros stumbles, recovers through momentum, and continues. The incident costs speed and balance. The animal does not slow to assess injury. Any reduction in pace increases vulnerability. A following disturbance capitalizes on the moment. Movement appears to the flank, fast, coordinated, closer than before. The rhinoceros responds instantly, turning hard and driving forward. The turn is wide. Vegetation breaks. Contact does not occur, but the margin is minimal. This is not pursuit. It is pressure applied at optimal moments. Repeated engagements degrade precision. Each acceleration becomes less controlled. Directional correction suffers. The animal's mass still protects it from immediate harm, but repeated misalignment increases risk of collision falls or separation from safe routes. Fatigue manifests as rigidity. Movement becomes linear. Lateral adjustments reduce. The rhinoceros favors straight-line escape over complex navigation. This simplifies decision-making, but increases exposure to obstacles. Another test occurs near dusk. Light fades, sound carries farther, but arrives flattened. Scent pools densely without directional gradient. The rhinoceros cannot separate old presence from new. It reacts to overlap by accelerating through the area, abandoning feeding entirely. Predators adjust timing. They synchronize approach with moments of reduced awareness during feeding attempts, water access, or recovery after acceleration. Each engagement is brief, calculated, and withdrawn before risk escalates. The rhinoceros absorbs these encounters without injury, but not without cost. Energy reserves are critically reduced. Reaction speed remains intact, but duration collapses. Each burst cannot be sustained. Momentum remains decisive only in short intervals. At one point, the animal chooses an unfamiliar route. The decision is forced. Known paths have become unreliable. The new terrain offers fewer obstacles, but greater exposure. Sound reflection improves slightly. Ground vibration travels cleaner. The rhinoceros commits to this corridor, increasing speed to clear it quickly. This choice draws immediate response. Movement converges from behind and to the side. The rhinoceros accelerates again, exceeding sustainable output. Muscles strain, breathing deepens. Heat retention increases. The animal does not slow until distance expands enough to dampen signals. Recovery is incomplete. Repeated threats compress available options. The rhinoceros can no longer afford to disengage gradually. Each encounter demands maximal response. The cost of restraint exceeds the cost of commitment. Night arrives without relief. Visibility disappears entirely. The rhinoceros relies exclusively on sound and ground transmission. These inputs are faster, but increasingly unreliable. Signals arrive without separation. The body responds reflexively to any threshold breach. A sudden disturbance occurs, close. Too close to resolve, too late to avoid. The rhinoceros pivots and drives forward with full force. Vegetation collapses. The ground hardens under impact. There is brief contact, glancing non-lethal, but it confirms proximity. The threat disengages immediately. This contact alters behavior permanently. The rhinoceros abandons all attempts at routine. Movement becomes continuous. Feeding ceases. The objective is distance, not intake. The animal prioritizes separation over recovery. Each step now carries risk. Balance is compromised. Muscles tremble under sustained load. Reaction speed remains, but precision erodes. The animal's strategy simplifies further forward motion without hesitation. Predators recognize this shift. They reduce frequency of probes, conserving energy. Pressure becomes intermittent but timed. Each test occurs when the rhinoceros slows marginally, when breathing deepens, when footing falters. The escalation is complete. Survival no longer depends on avoiding threat. It depends on enduring pressure longer than the system applying it. The rhinoceros does not recognize this transition. It experiences only necessity. The environment offers no confirmation of safety, only temporary reduction in signal intensity. By the end of this phase, the animal's options are exhausted. Energy is depleted. Routes are narrowed. Reaction remains fast, but recovery is nearly absent. The next engagement will not allow repeated adjustment. There will be no sequence of tests, no space to disengage gradually. The system has reduced survival to a single decision. The terrain narrows into a forced corridor. Vegetation thins, but the ground hardens unevenly. Sound reflects sharply, returning without depth. Scent layers compress, losing direction. There is no longer space to disengage gradually. Any movement forward commits the body fully. The rhinoceros enters without hesitation. It does not pause to test wind or footing. Delay would extend exposure. The decision is not strategic. It is compulsory. Pressure closes from behind. Ground vibration arrives first. Irregular heavy synchronize. The signal exceeds threshold immediately. The body accelerates to maximum output without escalation. There is no intermediate response left to deploy. Momentum builds fast and cannot be moderated. Course correction becomes limited. The rhinoceros commits to a straight path through uneven ground, absorbing impact through mass. Vegetation collapses under force. Sound flattens into constant noise. Individual signals disappear into a single field of urgency. Breathing deepens and destabilizes rhythm. Heat retention spikes. Muscles draw on reserves already depleted. The body does not compensate. It sustains output until separation occurs or collapse follows. A lateral disturbance appears ahead. Too close to avoid, too fast to interpret. The rhinoceros does not turn fully. Turning would expose flank and reduce speed. It lowers head and drives forward, converting mass into forward pressure. Contact is imminent. The ground dips sharply. Footing fails for a fraction of a second. Balance shifts forward. Momentum carries the body through the depression. Recovery occurs through force rather than control. The rhinoceros emerges still moving, but alignment is compromised. The disturbance converges. This is the final threshold. There is no space left to adjust reaction. No reserve for secondary response. The body must resolve the encounter in a single motion. Acceleration intensifies despite fatigue. The rhinoceros commits, fully extending stride beyond sustainable range. Each step lands harder. The ground transmits shock back through bone and muscle. The animal does not slow. The threat closes from the side. Distance collapses rapidly. Sound and vibration merge into immediate proximity. The rhinoceros responds by angling slightly toward the pressure, reducing lateral exposure and maximizing forward impact. Contact occurs. The collision is brief and violent, driven by mass rather than precision. There is no pursuit, no grapple. The force disrupts alignment, breaking approach rather than engaging it. The rhinoceros continues forward without stopping momentum, carrying it past the point of contact. The threat disengages instantly. The cost of continued engagement exceeds potential gain. The rhinoceros runs on without confirmation of outcome. It does not look back. Visual information remains irrelevant. Distance is the only metric that matters. Speed continues until vibration decays below threshold. Recovery begins only after separation is established. The animal slows incrementally, then stops abruptly. Breathing is uncontrolled. Muscles tremble under sustained load. Heat dissipates slowly. There is no pursuit. The corridor opens into less restrictive ground. Sound regains depth. Vibration attenuates normally. Scent disperses with wind. Signals reduce to background noise. The environment no longer presses simultaneously from all directions. The rhinoceros remains stationary briefly. Weight shifts unevenly. One limb carries less load. The body compensates automatically, redistributing mass to maintain stance. There is no assessment of injury. Movement resumes as soon as breathing stabilizes. This encounter cannot be repeated. Energy reserves are nearly exhausted. Reaction speed remains intact, but output duration has collapsed. Another forced acceleration of similar magnitude would result in failure. The animal alters movement strategy immediately. Routes prioritize open ground despite exposure. Obstacles are avoided entirely. Straight paths replace curved navigation. The objective is to minimize forced engagement rather than to optimize feeding or access. This change is permanent. The environment registers the shift indirectly. Other animals re-enter cautiously. Background noise returns in fragments. The absence of immediate pressure allows limited recovery, but the cost of the encounter remains. The rhinoceros has crossed the point of no return. There is no buffer left to absorb error. Survival now depends on whether the single decisive response was sufficient to reset distance. The system does not offer confirmation. Movement continues under new constraint. Feeding remains secondary. Water access is postponed. Recovery is partial and slow. The animal prioritizes separation over restoration. The pre-climax ends without closure. The outcome has been determined by commitment rather than calculation. The body acted before interpretation, converting mass into solution. What follows will not be a sequence of tests. There will be no gradual escalation. The next event will resolve survival entirely. The decisive event does not arrive suddenly. It forms out of accumulated constraint. The rhinoceros moves into open ground where sound travels farther but offers less precision. The terrain is flat, exposed, and unforgiving. There are no obstacles to absorb impact, no vegetation to disrupt approach. Any movement here will be visible only at the last moment, if at all. Pressure returns without buildup. Ground vibration appears directly behind close, synchronized, deliberate. It is no longer probing, it is aligned. The signal crosses threshold instantly. The body responds with full acceleration, drawing on remaining reserves without moderation. This time distance does not open. Momentum builds, but cannot outpace convergence. The rhinoceros commits to straight-line movement, maximizing forward force. Breathing destabilizes. Heat spikes again. Muscles operate beyond recovery limits. There is no capacity left for repeated response. A second convergence emerges from the side. It is coordinated, timed with fatigue. The rhinoceros angles toward it, instinctively reducing lateral exposure and converting mass into forward pressure. The adjustment is minimal, but decisive. Contact occurs at speed. The collision is not prolonged. Mass meets resistance. Force transfers abruptly. The rhinoceros absorbs impact through bone and muscle, redirecting momentum rather than stopping. The opposing body is displaced laterally, forced to disengage to avoid catastrophic injury. There is no pursuit. The exchange lasts seconds. The rhinoceros continues forward until vibration drops below threshold. Only then does it slow. Breathing is uncontrolled. Gait destabilizes briefly, then stabilizes through compensation. One side bears less weight. The body adapts without analysis. The threat does not follow. Distance increases incrementally. Sound regains separation. Ground transmission normalizes. The rhinoceros stops abruptly once confirmation arrives through absence rather than presence. The body remains still. Breathing gradually stabilizes. Heat dissipates unevenly. Muscles tremble under sustained load. There is no collapse, but there is no recovery either. The animal stands within narrow tolerance. Injury is present but contained. The skin has absorbed contact. Beneath it, strain remains localized. Movement will continue, but output capacity has changed. The body adjusts, automatically favoring stability over speed. The environment resets around the encounter. Other animals re-enter cautiously. Background sound returns in fragments. There is no alarm. The system does not register the event as extraordinary. It registers only changed pressure. The rhinoceros resumes movement slowly. Feeding is postponed. Water access is delayed. Recovery takes precedence, though it cannot be complete. Energy reserves are insufficient to rebuild fully. Survival has been secured but not restored. The encounter alters behavior permanently. Routes remain open and linear. Obstacles are avoided entirely. Acceleration is conserved. Reaction thresholds remain low, but commitment is restrained by reduced capacity. This is not adaptation by learning. It is adjustment by limitation. The environment does not offer compensation. Resources remain sparse. Pressure persists intermittently. The rhinoceros continues under altered constraint, carrying the cost of the event forward. The climax resolves without spectacle. There is no chase, no dominance, no victory display. There is only separation achieved through force applied at the last viable moment. The law governing the outcome is simple reaction that arrives before clarity remains effective. Reaction that waits for certainty does not. The rhinoceros did not identify the threat. It did not assess risk. It converted mass into motion and committed fully when delay became fatal. The result is survival with consequence. The environment accepts this outcome without emphasis. There is no marker left behind. No trace persists beyond disturbed ground and altered movement patterns. Life continues under the same rules. The landscape returns to its baseline state without acknowledgement. Sound spreads evenly again. Scent disperses with wind. Ground vibration resumes predictable decay. The environment does not mark survival as success or loss as failure. It only resets pressure. The rhinoceros remains within the system altered but present. Movement is slower, more deliberate. Routes favor openness over efficiency. Feeding resumes in shortened intervals. Recovery is partial and ongoing. There is no return to prior capacity, only continuation within reduced limits. No memory of the encounter persists as narrative. There is no recognition of danger avoided or threat defeated. The body carries consequence forward as constraint, not as lesson. Behavior shifts because output has changed, not because understanding has increased. The surrounding ecosystem absorbs the event seamlessly. Other animals adjust position and timing. Predators reallocate effort elsewhere. Pressure redistributes rather than disappears. The system remains balanced through substitution, not resolution. This continuity defines survival here. Life does not stabilize through awareness or foresight. It persists through immediate response aligned with physical capacity. Reaction remains primary. Interpretation remains secondary. The rhinoceros survives, not by seeing the threat, but by acting before sight could be useful. Its existence depends on a narrow margin, where instinct precedes clarity and mass compensates for uncertainty. That margin does not widen with experience, it only shifts. In this environment, survival is never confirmed. It is continuously renegotiated through motion fatigue and restraint. The body moves forward under rules that do not change, only apply. The law remains silent and constant. Those who wait to understand what approaches rarely remain part of what follows.